Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Today we're going to be going through the update 1.81, the Valkyries preliminary notes for update 1.81. But before we do that, I do have a few things to say. So first of all, we're having a 3 versus 3 Churchill Mark 7 tournament on the Discord server. Basically, just come along and it's on the 29th. It's going to start at 9 a.m. PST. There's going to be GE prizes for the winners, and we're also going to do some game giveaways to people who have done some special stuff, during the tournament. So if you want to sign up, join the Discord server and, talk to the mods there. They'll set you up with it. There's 8 teams so far. I believe we have about 3 or 4 confirmed, so there's still a decent amount of spots. So if you want to get involved, if you want to get your mates involved, you want to win some GE, go ahead and join up to that. Another thing is, a few people have been asking about, whenever something happens in War Thunder, you're right on it, do you ever leave the house? Do you ever do this? It's as if I know when things are going to happen. It's odd. The dev blogs come out at the same time every day. And for me, it's around 5 to 6 in the morning. And generally I go to work around 8. So I can get them out before I go to work. And also with the dev server stuff, it's only one day every few months, so it's not hard to, try and pull some strings to get it all done. And a few people have been asking about my health. Yep, I'm coming down with a cold. It sucks. I have my Tim Hortons hot chocolate here to keep me going, but it is how it is, I'm a full Canadian now, I suppose. But anyway, let's get into the preliminary notes, done by Stoner here. There was one which was done before this, but this is the second dev server notes. Remember that there were a few issues on the dev server. Second one, a few interesting stuff with the helicopters and also some of the models, such as the I-225 not flying straight. So hopefully we get a third dev server so I can show you a bit more of the helicopters. If there isn't a third dev server and it just goes straight to live, I've got a feeling we're going to see a few interesting glitches, we'll say. But overall, I'll talk about my feelings about the preliminary notes, and let's go through them. So to start with, we have the new missions, helicopters versus helicopters. I didn't play this, but my feeling is this is where helicopters are going to be viable, to be quite honest. In ground forces, I know a lot of people are hyped for them. I understand a lot of people think that they're going to have a place in the meta. I just can't really see it, unless they make their SP incredibly low so you can spawn in them first. But whenever there's going to be a jet about, or whenever there's going to be an airplane, they're just going to camp your base and kill you before you move. All of the helipads that we saw where the helicopters were able to spawn on, they had no AA around them. So you either put AA around them and make helicopters invincible, and apart from against jets, because AA struggles to hit jets, and make helicopters so they have to, basically shoot from miles away to hit anything on the battlefield, or you don't put AA on and helicopters get massacred in ground forces. So it's not a great situation, so therefore other modes such as PvE modes and helicopters versus helicopters, I feel that's going to be where it's interesting. We also had the Naval Forces battle, the new mission, the Mediterranean port, was put in. So we had a look at that. We did a video on it. If you want to see the video, just go back a few days, you'll find it. We also had a look at the MBT-1 Series 1, the British Royal Navy Reserve that we're going to get. What makes me think that we're going to get a third dev server as well is that there were some maps which weren't on the dev server. So we didn't have this Scandinavian map, I think is the best way of calling it. If you remember in the dev blog, when they shown the Mediterranean port one, there was also this other, Scandinavian / Finland / that area style of port. Very much, it looked like it was taken out of the Norway map for air forces. But we didn't have that on the dev server. We also didn't have the Vietnam map. Now, luckily, we have people on the Discord and in the Trusted Occupants such as Wintersol. Wintersol is a lad who creates custom missions. He's very good at it. He's a lot of the reasons behind why we do the community events, and we're looking to do another one on this Sunday. And with that, he was able to get us into the Air Vietnam map. Now, the issue with this is that the Air Vietnam map didn't have any airfields on it. We scoured the 128 by 128 map, which is the size of Norway, with jets. Couldn't find any airfields. So it seemed a little bit odd to me. Anyway, they've also done changing physics models to helicopters. Obviously, glitches and bugs aside, they seem to be performing a lot better. A lot of Mags's critiques seem to get fixed on the second dev server, which is great to see, making them a bit more realistic. Because obviously, with the issues that we saw with them in the first dev server, it was a little bit concerning. Sorry about that. My personal thing was that I was much more worried about the gameplay side of things instead of the physics models, but now that the physics models have been a little bit better tuned, hopefully, as I said, without looking at glitches and bugs, hopefully they're in a better place, but we'll have to see when they either hit a third dev server or live. Now, with all the new vehicles and stuff, I pretty much went through them all, and if there is a third dev server, I'm going to focus a lot more on some of the helicopters. I want to be able to have a look at the AH-1Z and the Mi-35M again, and also the earlier helicopters, just to see the contrast between them and how they play. But when it comes to all the ground vehicles and the air vehicles, I was able to cover all of them. The only thing I didn't cover was the STA-1 and the STA-2. And the reason for this is because I ran out of time. But you know how the STA-1 and the STA-2 in-game right now have very small turrets, and it doesn't really make a lot of sense because, you'd have to put dwarfs in them. Well, they actually made them proper size. They actually fit the chassis. So look forward to that. Obviously, it's a nerf to the STA-1 and the STA-2, but from a historical point of view, I think it's absolutely ace. I also had a look at the aircraft on the second dev server, so let's go through all of the different changes. So, the audio for the new vehicle class, helicopters, has been created. Each helicopter has its own unique sound, depending upon the types of engines and rotor blades. That's pretty cool. One of the things that I noticed on the dev server was the helicopters are incredibly loud, and I suppose that makes sense. But they were really loud to the point of if you had one overhead, you couldn't hear anything else, so in tank battles, if you are able to get a helicopter close to the battle, then they may be able to mask a lot of sounds around you. The cannon and machine gun sounds for helicopters have been created. They all sound great. My personal favourites is when you're actually in the cockpit of the helicopter and hearing the guns and stuff. That's very nice. And then you have sounds for new ground vehicles have been created. Not exactly sure which sounds those are. I didn't hear any gun changes. A lot of them just sounded the same. Maybe it's some kind of engine noises. And then cannon sounds for new ground vehicles have been created. I'm guessing this is talking about stuff like the T-54. But I didn't hear a difference at all. It sounded to me like the American 90. The sounds of automatic ground-based weapons at long distances have been completely reworked. Now sounds which are sourced from far distance from the player's vehicle sound more realistic. See, this is an interesting one. One of the things that Boris's sound mod and also the Epic Thunder sound mod, mainly Boris's, but both of them gave you, was if an artillery piece or an explosion happened in the distance over there, it sounded like it happened in the distance. It sounded like it was absolutely miles away. And with that said, it's something that War Thunder has been struggling to recreate. And when it comes to, let's say, a kilometer radius, you can tell in War Thunder where the other tank is or the plane is, but when it comes to that 10-kilometer range, then you're starting to have issues. So hopefully they've taken cues from Boris's and Epic Thunder and added stuff like that in. The sounds of aircraft automatic cannons and machine guns over long distances have been reworked. Now sounds which are sourced from a far distance from the player's vehicle sound more realistic, so the same. New sounds of cannons for ships and boats have been created. I'm guessing that's for the upcoming Royal Navy stuff. The audio database has been optimized. The stability and quality of sounds in-game has been improved. Wonderful stuff. Then we have the American Desert for a new location. Just understand that we've already been over that map. I was able to go around with Dog, Vin, and also Andreas. And so if you... Sorry, there's all sorts of noises going on today. If you want to have a look at that, we had a look at it a few days ago. Went around it in the T80B as well, so you can see how fast that thing is in arcade. It's an absolute bullet. And then the new location for Aircraft Battles Vietnam. As I said, I want to bring that to you, but unfortunately I can't yet. So hopefully soon we'll be able to. There's also some new aircraft missions for RB. I think it'll definitely be worth having a look at them. The Operation Iskra is probably one which I'm personally looking forward to, but it's also Hurtgun, because if it's the winter Hurtgun, then maybe that could be indications of a Hurtgun actual winter map instead of this before winter nonsense in the Ardennes. The location and mission updates. So the roads and bridges on the following locations for aircraft battles have been fully reworked: Mohammadi, Tunisia, Hurtgun, Kursk. And now the bridges will be correctly connected to the borders of the roadway, and additional embankments have also been added. Also, the bridges are now more combined with the landscape. Now, they supposedly did this with Zhengzhou, and they didn't. So we're going to have to see and go around these maps and see if it's the same. On Zhengzhou, which is a map that you get as the Soviets against the Japanese, they supposedly corrected the bridges, and some of them ain't connected to the roads. I don't know what's going on. They've also changed the size of the capture zone. Now depends on the BR of the battle. So as you go up in BR, it also increases. So this will affect arcade players mainly. And then we've got Mediterranean Port, as I said before, which will be the dev server thing. The dev server video from a few days ago. A variable rate of firing guns has been implemented. This is a really interesting idea. I do like this quite a lot. This idea that you can kind of choose, how fast your gun is firing. This will help a lot of AA. Obviously, there'll be a maximum and a minimum. And I feel like a lot of players are not going to be bothered with this, but in my personal opinion, it will increase accuracy of some guns. Some guns lose a lot of accuracy over time because of their fire rate, so you may want to slow down that fire rate to be able to keep accuracy and be more accurate. But I don't think this will affect the majority of players, but for me personally, I'm definitely going to use this with machines if I'm able to, such as the Kugelblitz, such as the Coelian, anything which has a rapid fire rate which loses accuracy over time. The mechanics of the commander view have been reworked. The camera is now tied to the turret and will turn with it. So before how you could kind of swivel the commander's view while standing stationary? It was one of the great things about, with scout vehicles. What you could do is you could plonk yourself behind a hill, keep everything standard, and then just pop up with your commander and be able to have a look around. Well, nowadays, you're not going to be able to do that. Your turret is going to turn at the same time as the commander's view. Now, does this mean that the commander's view, the movement of it is going to be tied to how fast your turret is? That is something I definitely want to check, because if that's the case, that's going to be annoying as hell, because obviously some vehicles do not have a very fast turret. But this, for me, mainly affects the way I'm going to play light tanks, and also the way I'm going to play specific heavies when I sit behind a hill and just wait for, or mediums as well. But specific vehicles where I sit behind a hill and wait for somebody to, come out in the open and then I can shoot them. So my Chieftain playstyle is very much like this. Sit behind somewhere, wait for somebody to come into the open, move up, bang, move back. That's how I play the Chieftain. And if they change this camera view, it's going to affect, what I do very slightly. The mechanics of slippage on slopes. The mechanics of slippage on slopes has been reworked. Vehicles with powerful engines will no longer be able to overcome slopes which are too steep. Now, this is a problem that we've seen in a lot of top-tier games. Pretty much Type 90s, Leopards, Abrams, XM1s, anything with a crazy overtuned engine, now the T80. The problem that we've been having is they get into crazy scenarios. So one of them is on Poland getting on top of the houses. That may be something you've never seen before. Another one is getting on the piles in the Advance to the Rhine map. Another one is, as you can see, in places like Karelia, which they should have taken out of top tier ages ago, but they're still keeping it there. Karelia has a lot of ridiculous areas that you can get to in top-tier vehicles that you can't in anything else, just because of the acceleration you have from the engine. So it's nice to see that they've changed this. The issue is how much it will affect, and basically, by doing this change, you are limiting the options of specific vehicles, so that is something to think about, whether you want to or not. But you are limiting the positions that people can go in because of this, and that means that there's going to be less tactical diversity, but there'll be a bit more realism. So it depends where you sit on the fence. For me personally, I'm fine with Leopards not being able to climb houses. So the STA-1 and STA-2, the turret armor has been refined. Turret and gun mantlets have been divided into greater detail. Well, I mean, that's probably good since you've completely changed both of the turrets. So it's nice that you've also refined the armor. The AMX-30 DCA, Chieftain Marksman, Swingfire and Matilda, order of ammunition usage has been refined. Always good, as long as it's realistic. The Object 268, a bug that allowed the breech to be damaged by shooting a machine gun into the gun barrel, has been fixed. Is that a bug? You can do that with any vehicle. Actually, no, sorry, I tell a lie. You can knock the gun barrel of pretty much every vehicle by doing the old machine gun trick, but you can't knock the breech. So it seemed like there was like a hole in the armor somewhere that they filled, so that's fine. The 120mm DM23 on the Rheinmetall 120, armor-piercing values for angles at 30 and 60 degrees have been corrected, so this is pretty much this is going to affect the Leopard 2K and the Leopard 2A4. We're going to have to see if it's positive or negative. This won't affect the new vehicles, such as the Leopard A1A1L44, because they only use the DM13 round. The ballistic indicator for armor-piercing shells, 37 to 152mm, has been refined. The rate of speed drop over distance has become more accurate. Now, does this mean that it's increased or decreased? I wish they would just... Well, I suppose it depends on the size. It would be nice if they threw in an equation. The XM803, a bug where a turret ring could be penetrated by an MG, has been fixed. The MBT and the XM803 have pretty much the same models. I wonder... You see, there's something... There was a Spitfire back in the day. And what happened was, I think it might have been the American Spacefire, or the Soviet one. But I remember the British one got updated, but the premium one did not. And it meant that the premium one stayed incredibly Spacefire-y, whereas the standard tree one didn't, and it meant a lot of people were complaining. Now, I wonder if that's the case with the XM803, if the MBT one got updated and then the XM803 got the old model, or if they're two completely different models. I'm not exactly sure, but I just remember that anecdote from back in the day because it was so annoying facing the American Spitfires, because the American Spitfire outdid the British one. And so if you were in a complete one-on-one engagement, the American one would just beat you hands down. The it's the Nürburgring or something like that. Basically the premium German big tank as a rank 1. A bug where a turret ring could be penetrated by an MG has been fixed. Good stuff. It seems like they're adding armor to turret rings. A hull armor scheme has been updated. The hull now has more armored parts, so that's pretty cool. Making it more defined, making it more refined, making it more accurate. The T95 T28, the upper and lower armor plates now cover the sponson of the vehicle's side edges. Nice. So the T95 T28 becomes even more heavily armored, which is good. The weak spot still stands as that cupola, though. Got to try and hide that cupola somehow. The Pattern 2 German version, a bug when a vehicle could be set on fire after being hit on the engine compartment top with an NG, has been fixed. I've got to have a look at the armor of that one. Also, which MG? Because there are plenty of vehicles which actually can be penned on their engine deck with machine guns. The Chieftain, with its 13mm of engine deck armor. I wonder if the Pattern 2 is the same or not. Anyway, now let's have a look at the aircraft stuff. Models of the German and Soviet pilots have been updated. Wonderful. I'm going to have a look at them. The Zero, the A6M2, gets a 250 kilo bomb, so it'll be more useful in ground forces. Wonderful stuff. If you take the 250 kilo bomb in aerialistic, please don't. It's not needed. The Zero is one of the best turn fighters in game. Don't desecrate it with a 250 kilo. But in ground forces, it means it has a better opportunity of being able to become that attacker role. One of the greatest things about vehicles like the P-51, P-47 is that after dropping their ordnance, they're able to dominate the air as well, as long as they're given a little bit of space. The A6M2 with the 250 can dominate the air no matter what it wants to do, even if it has the bomb or not have the bomb. So yeah, look forward to that in, rank 3 Japan. The Bf-110G2, the position of the aircraft weaponry modifications in the research tree has been changed. I wonder if they've obviously seen some people use certain things more as a priority, so I'm guessing they've changed around those ones. The Ju-88 A-1/4, separate bomb drop for 250 and 500 kilo bombs has been added. Lovely. That means that base bombing should be easier to do. The Key 32, amount of ammunition has been fixed. I mean, it's a Key 32. The F-84 G-26RE, the takeoff from the airfield, has been fixed. Finally, another F-84 is grounded. My god, F-84s back in the day, and even today, are incredibly annoying to fight because they don't take off. They have the speed behind them before they even start. So if you're in a propeller plane, which happens way too much against stuff like F-84s, they've actually changed the BRs of the F-84 so it doesn't happen as much. But even when it does, it's so annoying. It's incredibly annoying to fight. Luckily, nowadays, the F-84 mainly fights jets, but it's still the same issue. You give the massive advantage to the F-84 in the first place, and sometimes it needs it because it isn't as maneuverable, but it's still annoying as hell to fight. The Bf-109Z, information about the weaponry in the X-ray view has been fixed. Well, that's wonderful. The Z-1007 BIS Series 3, suspended armament setups have been changed, so I'm guessing they've just changed the bombs on the outside. The Wellington, the display of the weaponry and modules in the X-ray view has been fixed. Wonderful. Whatever they do to the Wellington, I'm fine with, because first of all, nobody plays it, and second of all, they fixed the bug of when you killed, or when you shot the tail, somehow the pilot died. So, the fact that they fixed that, I'm completely fine with it. Even though still, to this day, it gets one shot when it never should, I don't care. They fixed that one bug, so I'm happy. The F8, F4 modifications, armor has been added to the front parts of the fuselage, wonderful stuff. And now on to the Naval Forces. So they finally moved up the LCS, the ridiculous batterer of dreams. The LCS, as its BR been increased to 3.3, it's also been moved in the tech tree way down in the rank 2 area. And there's a reason for this. The LCS was a monster. The 440s that it has, people finally realized that you could switch weapon armament to be able to use them. And once they did that, well, I believe I have around about a 9 or 10 KD in it, just for that reason, being able to annihilate PT boats as they came. Ridiculous machine. Luckily, it's been increased. The PGH-2, the Tucumcari, I believe this is the hydrofoil, right? The hydrofoil, which is the most expensive ship in game. Yep, it's the hydrofoil. I wonder why that got reduced. It wasn't as if destroyers were absolutely annihilating it every game, and there was no reason for it to be up there. But it can dodge torpedoes, they said. It doesn't matter. One shot the bastard. It's dead. S-100, it's been reduced to 2.3. I thought the S-100 was okay. I don't think it needed to be reduced. I mean, the S-100 has some good 20s on it. Let's just check. I need to make sure of these things, because otherwise I look like a fool. I look like a plum. Let's see. The Schnellboot. I believe it's the one with the... it has the one single 20mm and the flak 36s. Yeah, it was alright. But if you want a good mix of like a battle boat and a torpedo boat. The S-series for the Germans is exactly where you go. They have a good deal of 20s, some have 37s, and they all have torpedoes. They're really, really good. They've also moved the Leicht and Schwer, the SF-40s, to 2.7 and rank 2. I believe, for me, the SF-40s weren't actually that bad, because you could just torpedo them. That was the issue with the LCS. I'm talking about arcade here. The LCS could maneuver. The SF-40s really can't. So you just stay away from their guns. But I suppose if you don't have a torpedo, they're incredibly annoying to fight. But I personally wouldn't have raised their BR. And then we have the Type 140, 141, BR reduced, yep, to keep it out. Isn't it amazing? All of these things are being kept away from destroyers. What a surprise. The MZ1, BR has been raised to 3.7. Good luck, you're going to die to destroyers. The PR-1124, the Soviets, has been reduced to 2.0, and the PR-191M has been raised to 2.3. Interesting. I personally, the Soviet ships I've had the most fun in, just because they've had a few bugs when it comes to their armor, and that basically means that sometimes you just can't die. So I think the BRs for them are a lot up in the air. I personally am looking forward to the Royal Navy, though. They're going to be the next ones I'm going to be really into. The X-ray view and damage model bugs have been fixed for many vessels. Spaces between armor and cover have been fixed. Missing hatches and armor plates have been added. Missing modules, engine and fuel tanks, have been added to the X-ray view. Heavy ships, hull, turret, aperture, external view have been corrected, and armament info cards have been fixed. Wonderful. That's what you want. You want all of this stuff fixed, obviously. Now remember, ships is still in a CVT stage, so it's going to have a lot of changes coming. The maximum vessel speed display in the info card has been fixed for the LCS and the KMS Endem. Well, there you go. Armor thickness and arrangement has been fixed on the Krasnikov Cat, light cruiser, Fletcher DD445, and the destroyer, as well as for the AFD1 and AFD2, MBK. That was the one that was ridiculous. PR186, the Rambuts, R130, and the R301 armored conning towers have been added. Yeah, the MBK PR186 was the ridiculous ship that sometimes you just couldn't kill. The R44 Rambut 37mm SKC-30 gun has been replaced by an MG C-30 20mm autocannon. As long as it's realistic, that's cool. The BM-1417 launcher has been added for the PR-1204 as a researchable modification. Hell yeah, more rockets, even though they're pretty much useless in ships. It's very hard to hit with them just because of the aiming system. Hopefully, in time, they become more useful. Leaking mechanics have been updated. I thought the leaking mechanics were okay, actually, so let's see what they've done. Leakages from breaches below the waterline are now more significant. Depending on the breach size and vessel speed, the vessel will now accumulate water inside more actively, gaining respective healing or hull angle. So you're going to sink faster. Modules placed in flooded sections, engines, ammo storage, transmission, etc., receive damage and may become completely disabled. Ammo in flooded storage becomes available. You may repair modules to make the ammo available again by repairing the breaches and pumping the water out. So, this new leaking mechanic, or the addition to it, is actually going to make some of your guns unusable. So, it's going to make it, if you are at not a very high buoyancy, you are going to struggle to be able to fire your guns. So, it's going to be an imperative to be able to get that water out instead of just trying to survive. I kind of like that. I mean, it makes sense, right? If your ammunition storage is flooded, or if your engine is flooded, they technically shouldn't work. So, yeah, that's nice. Breach repair and water pumping time has been updated. The time required for a vessel with unupgraded pumps and crew to pump the water out and repair the breaches should not exceed 1 minute on average. However, larger breaches and pumping the water out of larger sections of destroyers and cruisers may take longer. It was already quite long, but it seems like they've shortened it in some cases on the smaller vessels, which I personally enjoy playing, but on the larger vessels they made it longer. So, I mean, it depends what you like playing, right? That's good if you like smaller ships, because it means more faster, more active gameplay. If you like the larger ships, of course it's not going to be good, because you're going to be sat there for a hell of a lot longer. The ability to fire aiming shots with only a single main caliber gun has been added. You will need to set an aiming shot key in the vessel control settings. Then, when you activate the respective key, only one main caliber gun will fire. I suppose if you want to do that, if you're really struggling to range, but generally the Ranger, as long as you've got your crew slightly upgraded, is completely fine. So I don't think I would ever use that, but it is a nice little thing to add. Now, we have some economy and research stuff. A second winter camouflage for Japanese and French ground vehicles has been added. This is something I wanted to cover in the second dev server, but it closed abruptly, so hopefully soon I'll be able to show them to you. The late summer camouflage for top Soviet vehicles has been added. Looks okay, nothing special. The Senzub camouflage for the MX-30B2 and 32B2 Brennus has been added, which is also nice. And then the city camouflage for the Chieftain Marksman. It's a lovely camo, very similar to the to the Chieftain camos, which are actually nice. They've reduced the BR of the T55A, and they've also reduced the BR of the T62M. They also reduced the BR of stuff like the T55AM to 8.7. So a few of the Soviet machines are going down in BR, which I think is fine. It basically means that you can make a competitive 9.0. The T62M I still think is a sleeper vehicle. It's got a really good APF SDS round, got good armor on it. The only thing it lacks is reload, basically, and a little bit of speed. But if you can set yourself up in a defensive position, basically the playstyle I like in mediums, where you hold down half the map by sitting somewhere. And the T62M can do this very well, but I feel like a lot of people like the fast-paced action of some of the other tanks, so they're going to kind of pass it by. Also, you know, the T64A and the T64B are much more appealing vehicles, just because they can do the same job, but also you can get the research bonus between them. It will now be possible to save your decorations and decals presets in the customization sections for tanks for specific camouflages by creating your own unique preset for each aircraft or ground vehicle. Now, by switching from one camouflage to another, attached decals and decorators will be restored at their place. Well, I suppose that's good. If you really like presets and change your decals a lot depending on which camouflage you're using, then I suppose that's good. All shells or additional external armament modules will now are available in the test drive for not yet purchased premium vehicles. This is a great change. This means that if you want to test out a premium vehicle before you buy it, you can test out all of the premium vehicle. It would be nice if you got it in its fully upgraded sense, but at least this is a step in the right direction. This is a step towards I'm going to be able to test out all the shells, which is going to be one of the main reasons, or one of the reasons why I buy some of these premiums. So that's nice to see. I like that. I think that's a positive change. It's good for the community. It's good for the people who want to buy the premiums. They should be able to fully test them out in a test drive setting before they should buy them. In RB ground battles, the cost of respawning ground vehicles has been reduced by half, and for reserve vehicles has been removed altogether. And the accrual of respawn scores has been reduced for all actions in RB ground battles by approximately 30%. So what they've done here is they put more of an emphasis in ground battles on ground vehicles, funny enough. So having reduced the respawning cost of every vehicle, whether it be medium, heavy, SPAA, light tank, this means that you're pretty much guaranteed to get 2 spawns. Obviously, in certain circumstances, a heavy tank at top BR, you get 1 shot, you're still not going to be able to spawn in, but the majority of the time, you're going to be able to. So what this is doing is it means that ground forces battles are going to last longer. It means that there should be less of a snowball effect, where the first kill on an enemy is really important because you can knock them straight out of the battle. So with that said, it's nice to see that this is being implemented. I always liked the idea of waves of enemies coming. People get 3 vehicles, they can choose which one they want, so they die, they can come in the next one. Instead of the SP cost idea. And with this, it means that you should be able to get into ground vehicles more often. Now, obviously, with the second part, obviously really affects aircraft. Getting less points per action means that getting into a tank on your second spawn is going to be easier. Getting into a helicopter or a aircraft is going to be harder to do. Now, we don't know the spawn points of a helicopter, so they might make it easy to get into a helicopter, but hard to get into an aircraft, and that is where you make the helicopter viable. You make aircraft, or airplanes, incredibly expensive. And then you make helicopters reasonably cheap. So more people are going to pick up helicopters than jets, and if you get a jet, then you know if you die in it, you are pretty much screwed for the rest of the battle because you pumped so much SP into it. This, for me, is a good change. It means that RB ground battles are much more focused around the ground element instead of everything else, which obviously means that the battle should be elongated and there should be less of a snowball that we see currently in ground RB. Anyway, those are all of the changes that we have seen so far, and as you can see, because of some optimization problems, they closed the dev server, and once again, we'll be ready to open it again. We will announce it. So, they're still working on what my guess is the helicopter issues, and also the fact that there was no Vietnam map in it, and also they added a few other stuff like a Vietnam ground map, but I'm going to save that for another video to have a look in. My guess is we're going to get a third dev server. I'll be able to have a look at some of the stuff that I've talked about in this video. This has been the preliminary notes for update 1.81. Remember, these can change, but these are generally what we're going to see from the new updates. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time.